Welcome back to the County Seat. We're talking about films in Utah today, what kind of impact they have on rural counties. Joining us for our conversation is Virginia Pearce, who is the head of the Utah Film Commission, which is this obscure room at the old territorial courthouse up by the Capitol, and they've got the best view of the Capitol building.
Yes,
from your little section of that really historic place. Have they ever filmed a film there?
You know, they have done some behind-the-scenes stuff, but nothing big. I would love that because it is such a gorgeous building.
And we're also joined by our good friend Kelly Stowell from Kane County, who is the Film Commission Director for Kane County. And Kelly has lots of stuff filmed all over down there.
Yeah, another beautiful place to take pictures.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us. I really want to talk about, this has been an interesting thing for me forever. From going out to what they call the old Gunsmoke set for years and years in Johnson Canyon and watching it finally collapse. So that was a sad day, I'm sure.
Day, yeah.
It would have been really nice to restore it, and going out the old Perea set and going through that whole controversy. There's just been a lot that's happened in Kane County.
Yeah.
Were you the first county to do movies or become recognized for it? The Perry brothers, they kind of recruited film out there, didn't they?
Yeah, Utah has an extensive history with filmmaking, and it goes back to the 1920s. The famed Perry brothers, who were based out of Cedar City, and they went to Los Angeles and promoted the area for film, and the first film came in about 1924. They took the rail up from LA to Cedar City, and the rest is history.
Yeah, and documented on film, I might add.
Yeah.
Well, that's very. How does the Utah State Film Commission? Seems to me that they became an entity or a powerhouse around the time Calvin Rampton was governor in the '60s, and it was like, let's really make something out of the geography of Utah. Tell us a little bit about the Film Commission.
Yeah, well, I mean, as Kelly said, we've had such a long history in film, and we've had some boom periods and some smaller periods. And I think in the 60s and early 70s, there was another boom period going. And I think in northern Utah, they started to say, well, maybe we need some sort of state agency that can help regulate and help encourage film production in the state. And so the Film Commission started in 1974, and we really exist to market the state of Utah. The locations obviously are our number one selling point. We have the gorgeous, red rocks in the mountains and all of the things that people love about Utah. We also promote our crew and our talent and our industry resources that we have here. And really, we are able to compete against much larger film programs in states because of the natural resources that we have.
I find that interesting that you have so much stuff here. You have so many resources. I mean, if I were a filmmaker and I wanted to be efficient, say, okay, I need a small town, I need a big city, and I need a remote location, and within an hour I can do all of them if I go down to Kanab.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I've got all the things that I need. I can send somebody out to find set locations. That should be enough incentive to get them there, but we really have to compete with a lot of tax incentives. How did that happen?
Yeah. Tax incentives have been sort of the name of the game for feature films in the last 20 years. States like Georgia and Louisiana saw an ability to compete and take some of the business from California, and they started a tax incentive program. It really was a tax credit back on what you spend. And Utah got in the game around 2004-ish, and our current program has been in existence since 2011, which is part tax credit, part cash rebate, and really meant to allow us to compete with some of those bigger states because it is, most states and countries around the world do have some kind of tax incentive program. So it's really built into the budget of most feature films.
Yeah. The incentives help us become more competitive. Otherwise, we wouldn't be getting some of these projects, and we just have to be able to compete. And this is one of the ways.
Does that make you feel bad that you've got all this beautiful film country down in Kane County and that you have to bribe somebody to come enjoy your beauty?
Well, we don't have to bribe all of them. It's a select few projects that take advantage of the incentive. It's not all of them. And we have a range of projects from TV shows to commercials to the
videos,
music videos, all the way to the big productions that are big enough to take advantage of the incentives.
Mm-hmm.
What are the parameters, Virginia, for the incentives? I mean, how big of a film production, what kind of a film production, what kind of restrictions apply, saying if you want us to give you some of our tax money, what are you going to do?
Well, this incentive program, as we said, is set up to allow us to compete, but it also is an economic driver. So first and foremost, you have to prove that you're going to be spending a significant amount of money in Utah. Our major program, our motion picture incentive program, starts at $500,000 spend. And most of the films that we're looking at are spending over $1 million. That's on the ground spend in Utah. That doesn't include the Tom Cruise salaries, because he's not a Utah taxpayer. It really is about spending money in Utah with Utah businesses and hiring Utah locals. Those are a requirement to spend a certain amount of money and to hire a certain amount of crew.
So when you say a $500,000 spend, that means you just can't spend $500,000 on best boys. You have to hire best boys from Utah to make the whole thing happen.
Right.
Does that really help counties out?
It does. We've benefited greatly from the film incentive program, from the Utah Film Commission in general. I hate to just focus on the film incentive because that's just a tiny little piece of it. We get a lot of referrals from the Utah Film Commission, for instance, that they become the point of contact for a lot of production companies, and they're able to help direct them to where they need to go.
Well, we use our regional film commissioners a ton. Obviously, we need those people on the ground around the entire state to help us. If someone wants to shoot in Kane County, I don't want to answer those questions. I want to look to a local who really has the resources and knows the area. Kelly's done an outstanding job of really knowing his area and the businesses and resources he has to offer.
So do you have obviously people that are contacting you far beyond people who would qualify for the tax incentives, and do you go out to recruit those sorts of things? What do you do to bring business to Utah other than tax incentives?
We do. We make quarterly trips to LA, so we're spending a lot of time talking to studios. We're talking to commercial production houses. Commercials really are a huge part of the investment that happens in rural Utah because they do come for the location. So imagine your car commercial, your tire commercial, your trying to think of some of the other big ones that have shot.
There's more products in the world than ever right now, and it's my goal that we have something being filmed all the time.
Yeah. So we really use we use those trips to LA to make sure that, even the same way that the Gouldings did in 1940, they went out to LA, they showed pictures of Monument Valley to John Ford and convinced him to come to Monument Valley to shoot his film Searchers.
And stay at their lodge in the process.
Stay at their lodge. Very smart business move. And we're doing the same thing. We're showing locations, we're talking about the resources, the great crew that we have, and really we've built up such an industry here that it's an easy place to work.
So how big of an impact is this to somebody like Kane County? Kane County's got, 35,000 people?
Kane County, we have far less than that.
11,000.
More like just less than 7, about 7.
7,000 residents.
Permanent residents, yeah.
I didn't know it was that small. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Kanab's about 4,500 people. So when there's a film crew in town, for one thing.
Yeah, most likely.
And along Virginia's point, we get a lot of repeat business as well. So we form relationships with production companies, and we become the go-to place for them because we have a lot of the landscape diversity. You've got everything from the high mountain forest to the desert to whatever you need.
Go ahead.
I was going to say it speaks to Kelly's ability to kind of get out there and hustle and market the county, and I think other counties could learn a lot from that because it is about someone who shoots a commercial in Kanab and knows now that Kelly knows all of the people and knows how to get what they need. Then when they're thinking of shooting their next commercial, they could go a wide variety of places, or they could just call Kelly and he could set it up for them.
I don't want to put you on the spot, Kelly, but I'm going to put you on the spot because I've known you a long time. So my question for you is, if you've got these people coming, a commercial, let's say they're doing a 30-second commercial and they've picked the location. How much money does that actually bring to a community? How long are they there? How many rooms do they take? That sort of thing.
Well, it depends on the size of the crew and how long they stay and all those things. So, and some of them can be massive and unmanageable and overwhelming, I should say, but some of them are small, and we definitely like the big projects. Like I say, the big projects write big checks.
Yeah, give me an example of one.
Well, the Nick Cage film. So Room 10, a film with Nicolas Cage shot in Kanab 2 years ago.
February of 17.
And their Utah spend was a little over $2 million. And I would say at least half of that was spent in and around Kane County.
Yeah. And they came for a month to shoot the film and shot at several local businesses, including a hotel that usually closes down for the winter. So this was a shot in the arm for them that they were able to stay open, and they did a big makeover of the hotel, and it was a really fun project, and it instills a lot of community pride as well. There's the direct spending and the direct economic impact, but I think there's this whole other side of it where it makes you proud to be where you're from, and people are posting pictures of the hotel, and oh, Nick Cage is here making a movie. And
what kind of things does a movie crew buy when they're in town? I mean, obviously, if they rent the real estate that they use for sets.
Yeah, location, rentals.
Yeah, locations.
Hotels are a huge part of it. Meals.
Yeah, food.
Crew salaries.
Yeah, local crew. We try to have a crew base that we can plug in as much as we can. Sometimes the jobs are highly specialized and we don't have that, so they do bring in a lot of their people. So gasoline and
equipment rental.
Do they wipe out the hardware store?
Yeah, they have
shortage of
Construction,
duct tape.
construction.
lumber,
We had a movie a couple years ago that they ended up painting the inside of a cave. It was out on some private property. And
Just I didn't think the BLM would be real thrilled about that.
no, so they spent several days painting the inside of this massive cave, and they bought a lot of paint to do that. And the local hardware store was just great. They just loved it. They'd meet them early, do whatever they needed to do to take care of them. And that's the attitude that we try to have, is a business-friendly, can-do attitude.
You know, Virginia, you brought up a very interesting question when you were talking about the specialized people. Does Utah have a good base of people that permanently reside here that are specialists in film? I make fun of Best Boy because it's just the fun thing on credits.
We definitely do have pockets. So all along the Wasatch Front, we have probably around 800 highly specialized, highly skilled professional crew members that have been working a long time in the industry. Southern St. George, we have less than that, but still a few significant professional crew. Moab is another pocket. But it is about, we're trying to also help regional communities at least have the basic, what we call the PA, so production assistant. It's sort of the go-to, run around, do errands, but know how to behave on a set. So we have a program where we're helping regional communities train those people up so that they can say, sure, we don't have a camera operator that can work at the level on a Nick Cage film that you'll need, but we do have plenty of people that know how to behave on set. They know how to be quiet. They know how to wear the headset and talk on the radio and all those things that you sort of take for granted.
Yeah. Well, and then extras.
Extras,
we have a
yeah.
a pool of extras, and
Yeah.
we did a casting call for a large production last October, and over 3,000 people responded all across the
What
state.
does an extra make?
Well, it can range, but $100.
$100 a day is usually the standard.
Yeah, the standard rate.
The standard
But,
rate on a smaller production.
There were some extras in this same production that got paid over $600 for one day.
If you could fall off your horse,
Yeah.
then you get more.
Well, they didn't even have to fall
Never
off the
on
horses.
purpose, but it's happened a
Yeah.
lot.
They didn't have to do it on purpose.
For each of you, just one last thought. What is the one thing people should know about the film industry in Utah that our viewers don't know?
On a state level, the film industry brings in almost $70 million last year, which is a significant part of our diverse economy. And it's also, as Kelly said, it brings some cultural pride. I think we all can point to the Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, The Searchers, Stagecoach, all of these classic films that have shot in Utah, that many of them in rural Utah, 127 Hours, Thelma and Louise, that we want to continue to have those films shoot in Utah so the next generation can have those classic movies to shoot.
Of the $70 million, how much should we pay in tax incentives?
In $70 million, it's around 20% that we pay.
So we come out ahead.
Yeah.
Locally.
Yeah.
Well, Kanab is known for being Little Hollywood, and it just wouldn't be Little Hollywood without some filmmaking going on. And so just like it was happening decades ago, it's still happening now. And we'd invite people to get involved and get registered with the State Film Commission if you're interested in working in the business. And a lot of the colleges have programs, and so people should get involved, and it's a great business to work in.
Good. Thank you so much. Kelly, thanks for driving all the way up from the movie set to come up here for our little humble studio set. Appreciate it very much. Virginia, thanks for taking the time. We'll be right back. We're going to take a personal look inside the movie industry to see how really advanced it is here in Utah when we come back on the county seat. We'll be right back.